Subscribe to Teckoh on YouTube or you will forever be a bot at Fortnite.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So in the past I've done a few landing spot videos where I showed you guys some different spots and what's so good about them, but in today's video I'm going to be doing something a bit different for you guys. Instead of showing you some general drop spots, what I'll be doing today is giving you all of the information that you'll need in order to find your own drop spot that's absolutely perfect for you. And before we start this video, guys, I am so happy to announce that I have joined the team Siko Esports. I am super excited to be working with them, and we've got some awesome stuff coming up. I'll also be hosting a Q&A video on their YouTube channel in the next few days, so be sure to leave some questions down in the comment section for me. It can be about personal stuff, Fortnite, or basically whatever you want to ask me. As well as that, make sure you go subscribe to their YouTube as well so you don't miss the video when it comes out, along with the rest of their socials, which will be down in the description. And with that said, let's get into the video. The first thing I want to cover in this video is just a quick one, and that's some resources you guys can use to actually analyze different spots and find different aspects. And by far, my favorite resource for this purpose is the website FortniteGG. FortniteGG is basically a website that has every single thing on the Fortnite map marked. You can see every single chest, floor loot spawn, slurp barrel, rift, on and on. Basically anything you can think of, it's on there. So when you're looking for your spot, I strongly recommend using Fortnite.gg to assist you. First, find an area you like or think you can do well at, go to it on Fortnite.gg, and check out everything it has to offer. Another option in terms of this is to simply hop into Battle Lab or start landing at the spot in a real match, but I really find it a lot easier and more consistent to use the website. Second up, now that we've gone over the best tool to actually analyze drop spots, I want to discuss a pretty common topic you'll run into, and that's whether you should land at a POI or a smaller unnamed location. Obviously, there are two sides to this coin. On one hand, if you land at a POI, then you're going to be more contested the majority of the time, but your rotations are generally going to be easier as you're at a larger location and your loot should be much better. And for unnamed spots, you'll likely be a bit less contested immediately off spawn, but you're likely to run into more issues on your rotations and you might not have the greatest loot either. So what I typically recommend, assuming your goal is a competitive drop spot, is to land at a POI but land near the edge so you have the choice to disengage if you want to. One example is what I used to do at the spot Slurpy Swamp. I'd land at the two depot buildings on the southwest side, and then I would analyze my surroundings and decide whether I want to fight the other players there, or if I wanted to rotate out towards the little town or up to Logjam. Overall, landing at the edge of a POI allows you to disengage or rotate out if you need to, but it also gives you all of the benefits of landing straight into a POI, like the opportunity to get kills off spawn if you want to, have easier rotations, and likely get better loot as well. So I definitely recommend landing at a POI as opposed to landing at an unnamed spot. Moving on from the POI versus unnamed spot debate, I want to go over loot routing and how you can actually develop a loot route to maximize your early game potential. If you don't know by now, a loot route is basically just a route that you take pretty much every game in order to be more consistent, get similar loot, and get out of your spawn earlier so you can choose whether to fight or disengage before anyone else is around. To figure out an actual loot route, you'll first want to determine which area of your landing spot you're comfortable landing at. You can also use Fortnite.gg to figure out which areas of your POI have the most chests, but keep in mind that the more loot dense areas are going to have more people contesting them as well. Once you figure out which area you're comfortable landing at, hop onto Fortnite.gg and just look at the chest spawns and floor loot spawns and essentially develop a route to hit as many of them as possible. Finally, once you've figured out a general route, hop into either a custom game or a battle lab and just practice going through your loot route a few times to get the general hang of it. You can make some adjustments during this phase if you want, or you can just stick with the same loot route if you're comfortable with it and you're happy with your loot. At this point, you should have a pretty decent idea of what landing spot you want to actually go for. Once you know which spot you want to land at and have at least a decent idea of what loot route you're going to be following, it's time to start practicing your spot. This section is really important, so be sure to stick around for it. So quite obviously, the biggest thing that's going to help you learn about a spot is by simply landing there over and over and over and getting the hang of it. And don't get me wrong, I do strongly recommend that you land at your spot at least the majority of the time so you can get really good at it, but I do have a few other tips as well, which can make your early game even better and help you completely master your spot. The first tip I have is to start by mastering your actual glide. Figure out approximately where you should be opening your glider to reach the exact spot you want to hit. You can do this in custom matches if you have a creator code, or by simply queuing up for solos over and over again and learning it through repetition. This will allow you to be the first player to drop in and basically guarantee that you start looting before anyone landing with you does. The second tip for practicing your spot is one that I don't see many people doing, and that's actually VOD reviewing your opponent's perspective during early games. Now, a lot of you guys seem to think that VOD reviewing is only for top level pros who know exactly what they're doing, but I'm here to tell you that that's not true. In fact, I'd say people who are around intermediate level or even aspire to go pro in Fortnite in the future are the ones who really need a VOD review the most. But getting back on topic, the main reason I recommend VOD reviewing early game is because you can get a really good idea of what works for other players. For example, if a player takes a really good angle or position in your POI to get shots off on you, you can take note of it and know to check there in the future, or even abuse it for yourself. You can really get so much more knowledge of your spot by seeing what your opponents do, and it's easily one of the fastest ways to learn your spot and become a better early game player. Another critical aspect of your early game is actually knowing how to disengage. What I recommend you guys do is figure out a route that you can take from your initial drop to disengage and go loot up somewhere else. Obviously, there's a lot of RNG in Fortnite, and sometimes you may just get unlucky and not have an opportunity to loot any other parts of the POI, which means you'll have to disengage. It's absolutely critical to have a plan ahead of time for the scuffed situations, so when they happen, they don't end up ruining your entire game. A lot of this is going to come down to experience as well, knowing when and how you can get away, but having a set of options available before you even get into the situation is still your best bet. My second to last tip for this section is a pretty quick one, and that's to learn the surrounding areas near your drop spot as well as the actual drop spot itself. Obviously, you're going to be spending a lot of time around these areas, so learning them nice and early is going to give you a big advantage when you're moving from the early game into the mid game. Finally guys, my last tip for practicing your spot is just going to be staying consistent with your spot. Don't think that getting bad RNG a few games means the spot is bad, and don't give up on your spot if it's hard to learn. Staying consistent with a spot and making actual efforts to learn and master it is going to be your best bet when it comes to not only learning your spot, but becoming a better early game player as well. If you keep dying, then VOD review and figure out why it's happening. If you're getting bad loot, then compare your opponent's drop to your own and see if you can make any adjustments to your loot route to improve your loot. Overall, practice makes perfect, and staying consistent with your drop spot is going to be the absolute best way to improve at it. And with all that said guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. If you enjoyed it and feel like it helped you out, then consider dropping a like on it and subscribing if you'd like to see more videos just like this in the future. And also, don't forget to go and check out Siko's YouTube down in the description, and leave your comments for the Q&A down in the comment section. And finally, if you feel like checking out any of my other socials, including Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch, then those are all going to be linked down in the description. And with all that said, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.